Hi, I'm Dr. Ben Carson, Director of Pediatric Neurosurgery at the Johns Hopkins Medical Institutions in Baltimore, Maryland. Good evening. It's a great pleasure to be able to share this special evening with you, the community of Vero Beach, Florida, and Debbie and Champ Sheridan for the Dan K. Richardson Humanitarian Award, benefiting the Gifford Youth Activity Center. I understand that the Gifford Youth Activity Center has helped foster youth in the Indian River County to develop self-esteem, teach character, and encourage each individual to reach his or her ultimate potential. I congratulate and commend you on your mission as well as your efforts within the community. Years ago, my wife Candy and I read a research study about education in the United States, and we were alarmed by its findings. The study showed that our nation's students ranked number 21 out of 22 countries, next to the bottom of the list in science and math. Think about this. We're one of the greatest countries in the world, yet we're failing in education. The other thing we observed that made a lasting impression on us was that many schools' display cases were filled with large trophies paying tribute to their sports team's achievements, while honor students only received a pen or certificate. What message is that sending to our youth? I truly believe, as I'm sure everyone in this room does as well, that children could be taught early to excel. They would stay motivated and have a higher chance of educational success later in life, whether they want to be a teacher, lawyer, or even a neurosurgeon. To the students in the room, and the adults can listen too, I'd like to share a little story from my childhood. You know, when I was in the 5th grade, I was a terrible student. In fact, my nickname was Dummy. That's what everybody called me. I was always the butt of every joke about somebody being stupid. And I remember once we were on the playground and we were having an argument about who was the dumbest person in the school. Well, it wasn't a very big argument because everybody agreed it was me. But then someone tried to extend the argument to who was the dumbest person in the world. And I took exception to that. I said, there are billions of people in the world. And they said, yeah, you're the dumbest one. Well, I didn't like that very much. But unfortunately, that same day we had a math quiz. And I really didn't do that well in math. You know, I had a basic philosophical disagreement with the math teacher who thought you should know your timetables. And I felt that since they were printed on the back of the notebooks, I could just get them anytime I wanted. Well, that didn't work out so well when you took a test. And in this particular case, I got a 0. And unfortunately, you had to pass your paper to the person behind you, and they would correct it, give it back to you, and then the teacher would call your name, and you had to report your score out loud, which was great if you got a 100 or a 95, not so great if you got a 0, and just had an argument about who was the dumbest person in the world. So I knew they were going to laugh hysterically when I said 0, so I started scheming. I said, I know what I'll do. When the teacher calls my name, I'll mumble. And the teacher will think I said one thing, and the girl behind me will think I said something else, and everything will be just perfect. So when she called my name, I said, nah. And the teacher said, 9. Benjamin, you got 9 right. Oh, this is wonderful. I knew you could do it if you just applied yourself. Class, I want you to understand the significance of today. Benjamin has gotten 9 right. If he can do it, anybody can do it. It had 30 questions on it. But she just kept ranting and raving, and finally the girl behind me just couldn't take it any longer, and she stood up and she said, he said none. And the kids were just roaring in laughter. They were rolling on the floor, and if I could have disappeared into thin air, never to be heard from in the history of the world, I would gladly have done so. But I couldn't. So I had to sit there and act like it didn't bother me. But it did. It bothered me a lot. Not enough to make me study, but it bothered me a lot. And, you know, it bothered my mother even more. And, you know, she was a very observant person. She was from a family of 24 children, got married when she was 13, discovered that her husband was a bigamist, had another family, had to raise us all by herself, only had a 3rd grade education, but she was observant. And she worked as a domestic, cleaning other people's house. And she noted that those people read a lot. They didn't watch TV a lot. So she came home and turned off the TV and made us start reading books instead. And I didn't like it very much. I got to tell you, that was no fun at all. Everybody else was outside playing and having fun. But we had to do it. But after a while, I actually began to enjoy it because we were desperately poor. But between the covers of those books, I could go anywhere. I could be anybody. I could do anything. I began to know stuff that nobody else knew. And within the space of a year and a half, I went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class. Much to the consternation of all those students who used to laugh and call me dummy. The same ones who called me dummy in the 5th grade would come to me in the 7th grade, Benny, how do you work this problem? And I'd say, sit at my feet, youngster, while I instruct you. I was probably a little obnoxious, but it sure felt good to say that to those turkeys. But, you know, the key thing is I had changed completely. And I was taking advantage of this tremendous brain that we have. The human brain has billions and billions of neurons, hundreds of billions of interconnections, remembers everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever heard, can process more than 2 million bits of information per second. So what is the point of all this? Never give up. Don't let others influence the perception of yourself. Believe in yourself, and the confidence will follow. As you can imagine, I deeply believe in the work that you are doing at the Gifford Youth Activity Center. I applaud the efforts of the Sheridans, who help truly make a difference by providing inspiration to many. And sometimes inspiration is all you need. Congratulations on tonight's event. You couldn't have picked a more deserving couple than Debbie and Champ Sheridan, and it's only fitting to have a name like Champ. Thank you.